So let's just say he fixes that. He mentions the fact that, he really wants to, he isn't necessarily focusing on raising his FTP for one reason or another, but he instead wants to try to lose weight. And we were thinking about, the best way to manage weight and lose weight kind of in a responsible manner as a cyclist, because it's especially 10% of your body weight. That'd be pretty tough to be able to, you might be tempted to do some crash tactics on that to try to get rid of that pretty quickly.
That usually works.
But I feel like the biggest thing that helped me was, you could call it keeping a food diary, but being more specific about it and counting my macros and weighing everything that I ate. You don't even have to do it forever. If you just do it once, it opens your eyes.
The first step in analyzing your diet is accumulating information, right? You got to see what you're putting in your mouth, what you're eating, before you can change what you're eating. I mean, you brought up an interesting point yesterday where you talk about people have discovered that fat's actually good for us, and there are all these forms of, quote, healthy fats.
Yeah.
So they start to integrate more healthy fats in their diet, never minding the fact that they've already got a ton of fat in their diet that's kind of flying under the radar. They don't even recognize how many sources of fat there are in their diet. I mean, I just learned yesterday that rice has a modicum of fat in it.
Yeah.
Oatmeal has fat in it.
Yeah. It's crazy, right? Like, it's so hard. Like, Nate and I are always thinking about, like, I used to get guac on things, if I was at Chipotle or something. I never do anymore. I like avocado. It's great. But it's like, I get so much fat from everything else.
Well, if you're looking at weight loss, just straight weight loss, I mean, you have to recognize how calorie dense fat is.
Yeah. The thing is, you just want to, by tracking it for a week, you can identify and realize that avocado or a spoonful of peanut butter or a handful of nuts has a whole bunch of fat in it. Mm-hmm. So if you, I do eat avocado too, but maybe my breakfast is almost non-fat. And then lunch, my main source of fat is going to be avocado, but I'm not eating 2 avocados, right? It's maybe half avocado.
It's hugely illuminating. I mean, there's so many people, and this is another thing I did when I train people, I made them keep a food diary for a week, which is harder than you think it is, especially
it's annoying.
If you're snack prone and maybe you don't even recognize it, but you start logging everything you eat, not restricting it because, I got to write it down, so I'm not going to eat it. No, still eat it, or at least write it down so you know what you normally would eat. You'll start to see how much food you're actually putting into your mouth in a day.
It's a lot.
And it's usually very surprising.
Yeah, the whole principle behind the food diary isn't necessarily to say that fat's bad, this is bad, this something like that. It's inform yourself, and this process is very illuminating.
And then you can manipulate those macronutrients based on what you're after.
Butter is like a pat of butter can be 200 calories.
Crazy caloric.
And if you do a 200 caloric deficit every day, a pat of butter,
it could be as simple as not buttering your toast in the morning. Yeah. I mean, the deficit you're looking for might actually be that simple.
Yeah. Next time you're doing a workout, swipe over on the zoomed in interval view on TrainerRoad. If you're doing it there, swipe over and look at how many kilojoules you've burned. And then when you get to the 250 point, think of that and like, that was that one piece of butter. It's a lot of work. It helps put it in perspective.
Or that beer.
In general, beer's worse. Let's for amount of calories, right?
Oh, it's terrible.
It's a hot dog.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned before, but one beer is at least
your beer.
Like a hot dog with bun.
2 hot dogs.
Yeah, Chad's more.
And cheese whiz.
Pretzel buns.
Whatever you might put on hot dogs.
He calls them big beers.
Yeah.
But so for endurance athletes, maybe we would say macros like a 60-20-20, meaning 60% carbs, 20% fat, 20% protein. That could be pretty common. Mm-hmm. There's other...
It's all sorts of schemes.
There's all sorts of schemes.
Around.
But if you're on that 60-20-20 or on training days, I might try to be like even 70% carbs. Mm-hmm. It's just amazing how fast you can blow through those calories.
And in some respects, it's actually hard to get. I mean, enough food, like enough carbohydrate.
It's hard to get enough carbohydrate.
Yeah, I found that I was putting on more granola than I ever did onto my breakfast yogurt that I have with berries, right? Like I was doing things that were different than I thought, just trying to get to hit that. It's very illuminating. It helps.
Granola too, though. A lot of granola, like it'll be 20 grams of carbs and 14 grams of fat.
Yes, a ton of fat.
And so with that, it's almost fat. Per gram has twice as many calories. Yeah. So for the percentage wise, you're very behind with the granola.
Trying to pick foods that give you like the highest, I guess, the best ratio of macros becomes tricky, right? Like you're trying to pick the foods that have the rate or that will support the ratios that you're trying to hit at the end of the day.
Yeah. And so again, even if you're a fat adapted athlete or you want to go 40% fat, our point is you need to have the data to be able to make the choices.
Exactly.
Because I bet you 95% of people are like what you think it is, you're wrong.
Yep. Yes.
Absolutely. You write that down, you look at a week's log, plot it all out, put it in a way that you can look at it in one viewing. Yeah. You will find ways to improve it right then and there.
Yep. I use MyFitnessPal for that, and I track everything I eat still. You kind of get into a situation where you weigh it once, and then you kind of figure that out, and you can even save that, which is helpful with that. So you can save that meal or that food choice, and then if you keep it consistent, you can just redo it. But man, it's very illuminating. But as a cyclist, if you're so focused on the output side of things in terms of the work, it makes sense to be equally focused, especially if your goal is weight loss on the input side.
Mm-hmm. And I also recommend buying a little cheap food scale for like $15, $20 on Amazon, rather than using a measuring cup, because you can do it by weight, and you can put it in MyFitnessPal by weight, and it's so much more accurate than trying to do a cup or
pack that cup down a little bit.
It's different. Yeah, exactly.
How much can I fit in this cup?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the first step for losing weight.
Yep.
And then what's next?
I think from there it's so you look at it from a perspective of, okay, I'm aware of what I'm doing. Now, at least for me, what I've found to be the most effective way to lose weight as a cyclist, because you're not just trying to get skinny, you're trying to also improve performance, is to look at it like, I need to treat this like fuel. Like, I need to fuel my workouts. You mentioned that on certain days where you have like a hard training day, you'll shift your ratio that you have. And then on other days, you'll shift it down. And that's
more Chad. I'm more high every day because I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm trying to do such high volume that on my recovery days, what I'm really trying to do is replenish from the previous day.
Yeah.
So I want to. I'm definitely I'm trying to go extra to try to increase the volume.
The point is, you're trying to fuel workouts.
Yeah, totally.
And that's how you look at the food intake that you have is, some people question this relationship that you could have with food. And by all means, this is something you have to kind of tread carefully here for sure. But if you view your food that you're taking in as fuel for your workouts, I feel like you'll increase the quality for sure, but then you'll also time it appropriately. And then when you aren't training as hard that day, and maybe, it isn't something where you have to really load for the next day, you might bring it down a little bit. But the point is, figure out what you're doing, fuel the workouts, and then you'll refine as you go.
Yeah, and understand that a high training volume isn't a pass to eat garbage food. Just because you need a lot of carbohydrates doesn't mean you can, grab a 32 or 64 ounce jug of soda pop or or something awful like that, or even just pound the manufactured foods when you're not in a race scenario. Try to still eat healthy and high quality food. And I know that's what are high quality foods. That's a big topic, but Nate's experimented with it. He's found that staying as vegetable based as you can, it's never a bad thing.
Yep.
Can't find a single study that says it is, but. Just know that just because you need more carbohydrate doesn't mean you can have any form of carbohydrate and expect performance improvements and a favorable body composition.
Donuts are not the same as muesli in the morning.
In moderation. In moderation, everything's got a place.
So for David, what I would do is, one, do that week to really figure out what you're eating, because I think everyone should do that to get some data.
At least a week.
And then if he's doing like the high volume plans, I just want to stress for people, not many of people listening to this are suited to the high volume plans.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's
especially a lot for an aging athlete. And we're all aging, right? But an athlete who's above 40, in this case, 50 years of age, it becomes just more and more of a tightrope, narrower and narrower tightrope.
So if then David is doing the high volume and he's eating relatively clean, donut once in a while, but is eating the whole foods and vegetables and stuff like that, I bet you, David, and you get a handle on what you're eating without tracking macros or calories, your body composition is going to improve if you're consistent on your plan and you're fueling your workouts automatically.
Yeah, and it'll be less about a weight goal in terms of a number. Your body will kind of like work its way into the ideal composition for performance. That's at least what I find. Putting a number specifically to it, it can be good for a goal, anything else like that, sure. But at the same time, your goal should be on performance. And it's really easy.
It's always about
I see a lot of people trying to just lose weight like a normal person instead of a cyclist, and then that compromises performance more often.
The only we've talked about before, if you're overweight or obese, that's one thing. But if you're a 4.1 watt rider, like you're not
at 50, no less.
Yeah, you can't have this huge percentage. This person's not obese, right?
No.
Like obviously
no.
not.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, so in that situation, just train for performance and your body will come. The leanest I've ever been is when I trained the most. And I wasn't trying to lose any weight. Yeah. I was just training a bunch.
Yeah, and fueling well.
Happens too. Yeah, and fueling well, right? And eating, focusing on the whole foods, the whole grains, vegetables, fruit, not on donuts and Popeyes.
Yeah.
I think it's been. I've only.
How long has it been?
I think in the past 2 years I've had Popeyes once.
Well done.
And it tasted gross.
Isn't it weird?
It's nice feeling
so
good, isn't
gross.
it?
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is so bad.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But when you eat it all the time, it tastes so good.
I know.
Oh, man.
But I'm too that's another good point to people who have problems with cravings. If you can do it long enough, it
goes away.
It doesn't go away. It repulses you.
Yeah.
Like even the smell is gross.
Yeah, or you just can, at the outset of eating, know how you're going to feel afterwards, and it just puts it in perspective before you've even taken that first bite.
That's a good point. Is I think in the endurance diet, Matt Fitzgerald talks about this about juniors. Like they ate healthy for a while, but it's hard to get that mind-body connection. And you think of, okay, I know I'm gonna have this bad meal, but I'm gonna pay attention to how I feel afterwards. Because a lot of times I think people eat things and they just don't.
Oh yeah,
they don't make that connection.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah,
So think
totally.
like, okay, I'm in this situation. I have to eat this food. I'm in an airport and it's the middle of the night. This is the only way I'm going to eat today, eating McDonald's. Eat that and then see how you feel afterwards.
So that's how you breathe a ton of useful information into that food log we were just talking about.
Yep.
After you eat everything, and maybe not literally everything, you don't have to drink a glass of water and note how you feel afterwards, but after every meal, how'd you feel? And you can start to draw connections between, oh, wow, maybe I don't tolerate dairy as well as I thought I did, or whatever, things like that.
Maybe a 2,000 calorie meal at KFC, which I did in college,
Yeah.
makes you not feel good.
Believe it or not.
Maybe that's
strange.
too much food for even my body.
Yeah.